Callaway ERC II driver. The Callaway ERC II driver is banned in America, but it's one of the 10 illegal golf clubs that should definitely still be in your bag, and here's why. It's one of the most forgiving drivers ever made, meaning you'll get more shots in the fairway and fewer balls in the woods, and the game gets a whole lot more fun. What makes this club so special? The face is made from ultra-thin forged titanium. When you hit the ball, the face flexes inward and then snaps back, kind of like a trampoline. That trampoline effect launches the ball faster and farther than a standard driver. So that means the club delivers even when you don't hit the center of the club face, which, let's face it, is probably most of the time as an amateur. With the club's thin face and the way Callaway distributed the weight, instead of flying 30 yards shorter and slicing into the trees, your bad swings still end up somewhere in play. It's banned by the USGA because the energy transfer actually exceeds their legal limit. They capped something called the coefficient of restitution at 0.830. Basically, this is how efficiently the club sends power into the ball. The ERC II blows past that number, but the R&A, which governs golf everywhere except America and Mexico, looked at that and said it was actually all good. They said the extra distance wasn't a threat to the game. So suddenly you had pros winning tournaments with this driver in Europe and Japan, but the moment they landed in America for the Masters or US Open, it was illegal. Callaway's founder, Ely Callaway, actually knew it exceeded America's legal limits and released it anyway as a deliberately non-conforming club. He argued there are two games of golf: tournament golf with strict rules and recreational golf, the game you and I actually play on weekends. His point was simple: average golfers deserve to enjoy the technology without being held to tour standards. And he's totally right. Nobody's checking your driver at your local course. So if you want to make your game more enjoyable with more shots landing on fairways, this is an easy win. Unfortunately, it's no longer being manufactured, so you have to buy it used. You can find it on eBay for around $50. Let's move on to the second club on our list: oversized drivers. If you have a slower swing speed, these drivers will give you more distance than anything else on the market. We're talking about oversized 500cc plus drivers. CC stands for cubic centimeters. It's how we measure the size of a driver head. And here's the thing about driver heads: bigger is better for most golfers, because when you hit toward the toe or heel of the club face, the impact makes it rotate slightly. This means the ball flies offline and also loses energy, so it doesn't fly as far. A bigger head doesn't rotate so easily, so your off-center hits will still fly reasonably straight. Back in the 90s, manufacturers figured out how to build driver heads out of titanium instead of steel. Titanium is both lighter and stronger, which means you can make a much bigger club head without making it too heavy to swing. Heads went from under 200 cubic centimeters to 500 cubic centimeters by 2002. Average golfers saw their driving distance jump from 200 yards to 220 yards, 20 extra yards in 7 years. That had never happened before. The USGA panicked. The game seemed to be getting too easy for average players, so they decided to draw a line. In October 2003, they announced a 460 cubic centimeters limit effective January 2004. As a result, the driving distance of amateur players actually dropped, and it hasn't really improved since then. Maybe this ban makes sense for tournaments, but for your regular Saturday round, there's no reason not to have fun. And companies like Intech and PowerPlay agree. They never stopped building these drivers for the rest of us. You can find oversized drivers like the Intech Behemoth at 520 cubic centimeters or the PowerPlay Juggernaut at 515 cubic centimeters for $70 to $180. And that'll feel really worth it when you're watching your ball fly. Now let's check out the third illegal club that should still be in your bag. If you are loving this video, please click the hype button on your mobile screen and help us to reach out to more golf fans. Done. Let's continue. Ping Eye 2 wedges. If you've ever hit a shot from the rough and watched it fly over the green because you couldn't get any spin on it, this wedge fixes that. We're talking about the Ping Eye 2. Here's what makes this club different. Every wedge has grooves on the face. Those are the lines that grip the ball and create spin. Modern wedges have V-shaped grooves. The Ping Eye 2 has square grooves, also called U-grooves. They're deeper and wider. And here's what that means for you when you're playing. When you hit from thick grass with a regular wedge, the grass gets between the ball and the club face, and you lose backspin. Without backspin, the ball doesn't stop when it lands. It hits the green and keeps rolling. But with the Ping i2's square grooves, the ball actually stops soon after it lands. So of course the USGA tried to ban this club because it made the game too easy. But the key word is tried to, because this story actually has a very interesting twist. The USGA said that the Ping i2's grooves were non-conforming, basically that the spacing between them was too close. But the difference really came down to just the thickness of a dollar bill. The founder of Ping, Karsten Solheim, disagreed with their measurement method and sued both the USGA and the PGA Tour for $100 million each. It was one of the biggest lawsuits in golf history. They settled with the deal that every Ping i2 made before April 1st, 1990 would be grandfathered in as legal forever. And this led to a funny loophole 20 years later. In 2010, the USGA banned all square grooves from professional play. But because of that old settlement, pre-1990 Ping i2s were technically still legal. So, can you guess what happened next? Pro golfers started showing up to tournaments with old Ping i2 clubs, and the officials couldn't do anything about it. After this controversy, this loophole was canceled, and all Ping i2s became illegal for professional tours. But as a recreational player, you can still enjoy the extra spin from the rough, and actually stop your ball on the green instead of watching it roll off the other side. You can find them on eBay for $20 to $50. Time for club number 4 on our list. Nike Sumo 2 driver. If you struggle with slicing the ball off the tee, this might be the most forgiving driver ever made. We're talking about the Nike Sumo 2. Slicing is when you hit the ball and it curves hard to the right, or to the left if you're left-handed. It's one of the most common problems in golf, and it usually means your ball ends up in the trees or out of bounds instead of the fairway. So here's why this club helps. Most drivers have a rounded teardrop shape. The Sumo 2 is square. It looks like a toaster, and people made fun of it. They said it looked like a mailbox on a stick and sounded like a car crash when you hit it. But here's the thing, it worked. The square shape moves weight out to the corners of the club head. When you miss the center of the face, a normal driver will twist and your ball goes sideways. The Sumo 2 resists that twisting. Nike called it super moment of inertia. That's what Sumo stands for. In plain English, it means your mishits still go relatively straight. Now here's where the story gets interesting. In 2007, an unnamed competitor, though everyone suspected it was Callaway, went to the USGA and reported that the Nike Sumo 2 might be illegal. The USGA tested it and found that some of the drivers had a club face that was slightly too springy. The extra spring gave players about 1 to 2 extra yards. That's it, only 1 to 2 yards, but it was enough to trigger a recall. Nike had to pull the driver from shelves and offer replacements. The funny part? A few weeks later, Callaway had to recall one of their own drivers for the exact same issue. Anyways, Nike's conforming replacement Sumo 2 drivers have a small circular notch stamped on the sole plate so you can tell them apart. Not everyone returned theirs though, so you can still find both versions on eBay for $80 to $200. And honestly, for recreational play, nobody is pulling out a testing device to check your driver. Either version will give you one of the most forgiving drivers ever made. If you can get past the looks and the sound, you'll hit more fairways than you ever have before. Next, we have a club that some golf pros credit for their Masters wins. Laser putting aids. We're talking about laser putting aids. It's not actually a club, but a small attachment that clips onto your putter shaft and projects a laser line showing exactly where your club face is aimed. And in case it's not apparent already, this can change a lot about your game. You can have the perfect read, make a perfect stroke, and still miss the putt because you weren't aimed where you thought. And it's incredibly hard to know where you're aiming. Minuscule differences in the club face angle can create dozens of yards of difference. The laser removes all guesswork. You just clip it on, press a button, and a bright line appears on the green, showing the exact direction your putter face is pointing. If the line goes where you want the ball to start, you're good. If not, you adjust until it does. Simple. This might sound like actual cheating, but it's actually not. This device doesn't change your stroke mechanics. You still have to make a good putt. It just helps you learn how to aim properly. The idea is to use it for a while, and you'll develop better alignment instincts even without the laser. That's how many tour pros train. Bryson DeChambeau says he uses it every day. Hideki Matsuyama says the laser putt was what got his putting in top form before his 2021 Masters win. You just can't use it at a tournament, of course. You can find basic shaft-mounted lasers on Amazon for $15 to $30 from brands like ACHIX and Foretra. That's a very small price to fix the mistake that's been costing you 3 or 4 putts every round. Next on our list is a type of club that actually solves the most embarrassing problem in golf: belly putters and long putters. putters. Hopefully you haven't experienced this yet, but in golf, there's this thing called the yips. It's an involuntary muscle spasm in your hands or wrists right as you're hitting the ball. You jerk the putter instead of making a smooth stroke, and you miss short putts a beginner could make. The worst part is, it's psychological. The more you worry about it happening, the more it happens. It's ended more than a few golf careers. So to players who had the yips, belly putters and long putters were a gift sent from heaven. Here's how they work. A normal putter is about 33 to 35 inches long and you swing it with your hands and wrists. A belly putter is longer, around 41 to 44 inches, and you press the end of the grip into your belly button. A long putter, sometimes called a broomstick putter, is even longer, around 48 to 52 inches, and you press it against your chest. When you anchor the putter to your body like this, you create a fixed point. Now the putter swings like a pendulum, and your hands are just along for the ride. The twitching doesn't matter anymore, because your hands aren't controlling the stroke, and it showed in the results. Players started winning major championships with anchored putters, but not everyone was happy. Tiger Woods said he'd never been a fan of anchored putting and argued that golfers should have to swing all 14 clubs, not just 13. The traditionalists were furious that players were essentially eliminating the skill of controlling their nerves. The USGA essentially agreed, so in 2016, they banned the technique of anchored putting. The clubs are legal, you just shouldn't press them against your body. But you know what? If you're an amateur and you struggle with the yips, there's no reason why you can't give yourself some relief and enjoy the sport you love with this technique. Golf is supposed to be fun after all, and the yips aren't fun for anyone. Belly putters go for $30 to $150 on eBay. Moving on to club number 7 on our list, extra long drivers. Earlier, we spoke about oversized drivers. Well, now we have another variation on drivers that also adds distance. But with this one, you actually have to earn it. Here's how it works. A standard driver is around 45 inches long, but the longer your shaft, the faster the club head travels when you swing. Every extra inch adds about 1 mile per hour to your swing speed, which translates to roughly 2 to 3 more yards. So with a shaft 48 inches long, you could add 6 to 9 extra yards without changing anything about your swing. In 2020, Bryson DeChambeau started experimenting with 48-inch drivers to squeeze out even more distance. Phil Mickelson used a 47.9-inch driver, just under the maximum, when he won the 2021 PGA Championship at age 50, becoming the oldest major winner in history. And Brooke Henderson had been using a 48-inch driver since she was 15, winning majors on the LPGA Tour with it. So like with most clubs on this list, all good things come to an end. In 2022, the USGA capped driver length at 46 inches for professional tournaments. Phil Mickelson was furious. He called the decision pathetic on Twitter and said the USGA was trying to make golf less fun. He argued that shorter drivers actually promote a more violent, injury-prone swing. And the thing is, this club really isn't just a free distance hack. A longer shaft amplifies everything, good and bad. If your swing path is solid and you make clean contact, you get rewarded with serious distance. But if your fundamentals are off, that extra length will punish you. Mishits spray farther offline, timing gets harder, the margin for error shrinks. That's actually what makes this interesting. Unlike an oversized driver that just adds distance no matter what, a longer shaft forces you to develop better technique. It's a tool that grows with you as your swing improves. Some golfers find that working with a longer driver actually cleans up their mechanics because sloppy habits become impossible to ignore. You can actually still buy 48-inch drivers today. The 2022 rule change only applies to professional and elite amateur events. Brands like AccuFlex and House of Forged sell 48-inch shafts online. Many come with adapters that fit right into your current driver head. Next up, we have a club that will save you in the moments when you're completely screwed. If you are loving this video, subscribe to our channel and help us reach 5,000 subs by month's end. Two-way chippers. Have you ever had your ball land right next to a tree or a fence where you couldn't take your normal stance? It's incredibly frustrating. You either have to take an unplayable lie penalty, or you try some awkward opposite-handed swing that usually makes things worse. But here's a club that solves the problem entirely, the two-way chipper. First, let me explain what a regular chipper is. It's a club that looks like a putter, but has the loft of a 7-iron. You use it for shots just off the green where you want the ball to pop up land, and roll toward the hole. The beauty of a chipper is that you swing it like a putter. No wrist hinge, no body rotation, just a simple pendulum motion. This makes it almost impossible to mess up the shot. No more watching your ball go 2 feet or fly way past the hole, which are the two mistakes that most amateur golfers make around the greens. A two-way chipper takes this even further. It has a striking face on both sides of the club head, so if your ball is up against a tree on your right side, you just flip the club around and hit it left-handed. So why is it illegal? The USGA has a rule that says every club except a putter can only have one striking face. Putters get an exception because traditional blade putters have always been symmetrical. But since a chipper has more than 10 degrees of loft, it's classified as an iron, not a putter, and irons can only have one face. It's a technicality, but it's enough to get you disqualified from any official competition. For your Saturday game with your buddies, though, nobody cares. And having a club that can get you out of jail when you're stuck next to an obstacle is worth its weight in gold. Thankfully, it doesn't actually cost that much. You can find two-way chippers on Amazon or Walmart for around $25 to $40. Polara self-correcting balls. Before we get to what I think is the coolest club on this list, here's a bonus for you. It's actually not a club, and it's maybe questionable if you should use it, but you can decide that for yourself. It's the Polara self-correcting ball. Wait, self-correcting? How does that work? A normal golf ball has the same dimples all over, totally symmetrical, but the Polara has shallow dimples around the equator and deeper dimples at the poles. So what that means is, when you line up the arrow on the ball toward your target and hit it like that, the ball physically straightens itself out mid-flight. You know that ugly slice where your ball curves way off to the right and into the trees? Those happen because your swing puts side spin on the ball. The Polara's dimple pattern fights against that spin while the ball is in the air, reducing your curve by up to 75%. In robot testing, they programmed a machine to hit an 80-foot slice. With a regular ball, you get that 80-foot curve. With the Polara Ultimate Straight, it only sliced about 20 feet. Correcting nearly 60 feet of that slice. The ball landed near the fairway instead of the parking lot. The interesting thing about this ball is, it was invented in the 1970s by two scientists who didn't even play golf. Daniel Napella was a physicist. Fred Holmstrom was a chemist. They figured out the aerodynamics, and it worked so well that they sold over 300,000 balls in just a few years. And of course, the USGA tested the ball, confirmed it worked, and banned it. They said it reduced the skill required to play golf, and well, they were right. If you use this ball, you won't really be playing golf the way it's meant to be played, working on your technique, and with dozens of random variables testing your ability to react to any circumstance. So, should you use it? It depends on how you want to play. If you want to take the sport seriously, then maybe this ball is taking things a little too far. But if you're just playing for fun, and you want to make the game a little easier for yourself, this will definitely do the trick. And it costs just around $45 for a dozen Polara Ultimate Straight balls. And finally, the 10th item on our list, and my personal favorite, smart clubs with electronics. What if your putter could tell you exactly why you keep missing 3-footers? That's what smart clubs with embedded electronics can do. Here's how they work. Some golf clubs now have tiny sensors built into the grip. When you swing, the sensor measures everything: your tempo, your swing speed, the angle of the club face at impact. All that data gets sent to your phone, and an app shows you exactly what you're doing wrong and gives you drills to fix it. The best example is the tailor-made Spider interactive putter. It's got a blast motion sensor hidden inside the grip that tracks your entire putting stroke. After each putt, you can see, for example, that your backstroke took 0.4 seconds, your face rotated 2 degrees open, and more importantly, the app tells you what those numbers should be and how to fix them. It's like having a putting coach analyze every single stroke with ultra precision. The USGA shut this down for competition almost immediately. The equipment rules say golf clubs cannot vibrate, emit light, or provide any kind of real-time feedback during a round. The governing bodies believe reading your own game is part of the skill they're testing. TaylorMade saw this coming, so they built a clever workaround. The putter comes with 2 plugs, the real sensor for practice, and a yellow dummy plug for competition. Swap in the dummy, and it's completely legal for your club championship. But for casual rounds, this technology is a shortcut to improvement that used to require expensive coaching. The Spider Interactive runs $100 to $200 used. Standalone sensors like the Blast Motion cost about $150 and attach to any club you already own. Remember that typically, you'd use this on the practice green, not mid-round. even in casual play, because stopping to check your phone after every putt would slow things down. So there you have 8 illegal golf clubs you should still have in your bag, plus a little bonus. If you enjoyed this video, check out our next video here. YouTube thinks you will like to watch this. Let's see if it's true.